Welcome back from the break. Violence against women is a global issue and much more severe in developing countries. This week, women from various parts of the world got together in Islamabad to find a solution to this menace. Gulmine has more on this. Go ahead, Gulmine.
Last week, Islamabad saw an influx of strong and independent women from across South Asia, including India, Sri Lanka, Nepal and Bangladesh, for a conference on violence against women. Find out more in this report. A three-day South Asian conference on violence against women concluded in Islamabad last week. The inaugural day saw internationally renowned women's rights activist Mukhtara Mai address the participants, and all 3 days the various sessions were attended by women's rights activists including lawyers, professionals, development workers, media from across South Asian countries including India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh and Nepal. The group of women, which included a number of notable women's rights figures and others from diverse ethnic, religious and sexual orientations, shared their common concerns at the pervasive violence in their lives and at the ineffectiveness of the state to recognize and address the causes of violence within families, the community and by the state. The conference traced the pathway, both private and public, that a survivor of violence has to traverse to get justice and the challenges therein. It questioned whether these paths allow for agency or whether they create and encourage a sense of victimhood. Papers presented at the conference highlighted a number of issues including lacunas in legislation, biases in medico-legal testing and the police response that create impediments in redressing the grievances of victims. Also talked about was the media response to violence, informal mechanisms of justice that even women resort to themselves as they are more accessible.
I
think that patriarchal culture exists everywhere in the world, and this will change slowly through education and democracy, and especially depending on women's economic independence. When a woman has her own property and when she earns something and can support herself, she can think about leaving a violent marriage. I feel that when I come forward and speak at such conferences, it gives other people like me the strength to come forward and share their stories also. The recommendations that followed the declaration in the end vowed to eliminate violence from society, urged the need for collective effort, acknowledgement of the centrality of women survivors, such as by addressing their interests and empowering them in the process. Furthermore, recognition was made of structural approaches such as legal course, along with a desire to change the media's role towards the women's movement.
Pakistan for the past 3 years is trying hard to pursue reforms in key areas of the economy in order to achieve overall improvement and sustainable economic growth. Let's go back to Karachi to see what the recent initiatives have been taken in this regards. Yes, Zaila.
Yes, Adeel. Pakistan will continue to pursue reforms in the key areas of the economy under a homegrown program in order to achieve overall improvement and sustainable economic growth, said Finance Minister Dr. Adeel Shahid. We have more details in this report.
Pakistan will continue to pursue reforms in key areas of the economy under a homegrown program in order to achieve overall improvement and sustainable economic growth, said the Finance Minister Adeel Shahid. He further said that we will continue on the reform path and continue with restraint in fiscal policy and expenditures. We will continue with mobilization of taxes. The Finance Minister, who had meetings with senior IMF and World Bank leaders earlier on Sunday, told the press that Pakistan is also serious about reforming its power sector. The Finance Minister discussed cooperation with Ms. Nemat Shafiq, Deputy Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund. Pakistan's $11.3 billion program with the fund would conclude on September 30th. However, cooperation between the fund and Pakistan will continue. The Finance Minister said that IMF leader appreciated the positive results coming out in the first 2 months of the current fiscal year. It was proposed that the fund provide technical assistance on matters of interest to Pakistan. Officials said it was decided that a conference be organized jointly in November to think about future reforms direction. Explaining the importance of Islamabad's commitment to reforms, Sheikh said that the reform program that Pakistan will develop will be homegrown, but it will continue to focus on the areas that have been part of the fund's arrangement. In this respect, he referred to reforms including domestic tax mobilization, which includes self-sufficiency and allowing greater space for the private sector so that they are more competitive. He also referred to reforms to counter inflation and noted that the sensitive price indicator has climbed down to 9%, which is good news. The finance minister, meanwhile, also led his team of economic managers at a meeting with Ms. Sri Muliani Indravati, managing director of the World Bank, and discussed economic development cooperation. They discussed availability of the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development financing for infrastructure projects in various sectors, including water and energy.
The Citizens Foundation is a professionally managed non-profit organization set up in 1995 by a group of citizens concerned with the dismal state of education in Pakistan. It is now one of Pakistan's leading organizations in the field of formal education. One of our correspondents spoke to Neelafar Saeed, the director of TCF, to discuss the future plans of this organization.
I'm sitting here with Mrs. Neelafar Saeed, the director of the Citizens Foundation of Pakistan, also known as TCF, whose main aim is to promote education for children all around the country. Hi, Mrs. Saeed, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
So can you tell me about some of the projects you're working on with TCF in the country?
In Pakistan, what the STCF does is we basically do fundraising in different ways. We try to do things that are culturally enlightening. We do things which would enhance the education of the general public also, besides the fact that we are in the education this thing. As far as supporters are concerned, we do that. We fundraise, we collect zakat, we do different kind of things. We went into the earthquake when that was a national calamity. We went into the earthquake, we built houses and we did things. But we did learn one thing. I mean, people gave us money, people supported us, we completed our project. But what happened was that we decided, you know, it's very heartless to say, but we decided to focus on our emergency, which is education. The minute we sidetrack to earthquake or to the flood, what happens is that we might lose focus of our core issue, which is education, which is as big a disaster as any of these things.
Could you also tell me about the project you did in the Machar colony in Karachi?
You know, there are these most beautiful little, tiny little kids with hands as small as maybe, you know, tiny little, they were peeling shrimps, sitting on this dirty nala which is full of machar, and they were peeling. Once our school came there, the life of those children changed. They still peel shrimps, they still go home and help their parents because they need to do that financially. But you should see the children. They come to the school with bright eyes, they learn. We show you a photograph of a child prior to our school and after our school, that same child, the light in her eyes, she's a tiny little girl, she's sparkly, she's happy, she's learning. She's going home, she's taking the education home, she's telling her mother, brush my hair, brush your hair, brush your teeth, clean water, how to drink things, how to behave, you know, and even her shrimp cleaning has become better.
All the children we see on the street who are working and, you know, selling flowers and newspapers and all of that, is that more of a necessity that they have to do that, or is it more of a choice? What would you?
No, it's obviously a necessity. Any added income to the parents would help, definitely. And you will notice that, I mean, this is my thing, you will notice that there are lesser children on the streets begging lately, and if they are, they're a group of children doing it for maybe a particular reason or something, but I would say that it's a necessity.
How do you think the government can make amends to help children, in fact all the children, even the ones in the street, pursue education rather than, you know, selling flowers on the street? How do you think we can change the mindset of the government?
This education for every Pakistani child is the responsibility of the government. They have lately, even the government, I feel, has realized that education is important in different levels. I'm noticing even in same in Punjab, the governments are trying to do this, but it is a immensely large problem which has to be treated like an emergency, which has to be given a large budget, and spending money on nothing else but on the education, bringing the standard up, bringing the level up. Teaching, I mean, I love the idea that they said they're going to teach Chinese in class 5 because that's the next future language. But the point is, before we go to class 5 and teach Chinese, we need to get our level of education risen, higher, better.
What are the future plans for TCF as far as children are concerned and the future of the country?
the children are concerned, our aim is to make 1,000 schools. We are at 730. We're going to get there. As far as the children of Pakistan are concerned, we are going to take all our children, which is 1,20,000 children that we have. We're going to see them from where we've started to where they end. We hold their hand right till they get into decide which career they're going into, or what business they're going to, or where they're going to do internship. And those children will, in return, come back to TCF, help TCF multiply and spread the word for TCF.
Thank you for speaking with us, Mrs. Said. We were just talking to Mrs. Nilofer Said from the Citizens Foundation of Pakistan about the aims, objectives and future goals of TCF.
Our Islamabad Bureau finally tells us about the proactive measures being taken by celebrities to help the people worst affected by the floods. Yes, Gulmina.
Pakistan's artists and superstars have always come through for the country in her time of need. And this year, with floods, it was no different. This week, we follow around film actress Meera as she collected money for the flood-affected people of Sindh. Take a look. Pakistan may be considered unlucky in terms of the numerous natural disasters that the country has faced over the last decade or so. But the country is lucky in a sense as well. Lucky to have a citizenry that is well versed in the art of giving. It is often said of Pakistanis that they are very hospitable, and this hospitality spills over into charity in times of trouble, and leading the way in this regard are Pakistan's superstars. Last week, the citizens of the normally sleepy capital got the shock of their lives when film actress Meera was spotted collecting funds for Sindh's flood-affected people in a market in Islamabad. Meera, who is famous for her roles in many of the Pakistani film industry's musical feature films, is a popular figure not just in her own country but also across the border in India, where she's also worked. Speaking to the media, the actress said that it wasn't just raising money that was important, but it was also important to take time out of one's busy life to remember those in need. I'm going across Pakistan, and the idea is to personally go and spend some time with those and meet those affected by this calamity. Fundraising activities have been happening across the country, but it was inspiring for the people of Islamabad, not normally used to seeing celebrities in their part of town, to catch a glimpse of the famed actress. The actress, who is working with journalists from Islamabad's press club to help raise funds for flood affectees, said that she hoped that her presence would help and that she was willing to go to the affected areas and contribute in any way that she could. I have started this charity work with the president of the Pakistani Press Club, and we intend to go all across Pakistan, to every corner of the country, and maybe also abroad to raise funds. Residents of Islamabad may have had a pleasant shock seeing one of the biggest superstars of the film industry doing her bit to help out, and one hopes that Meera's efforts will spur more people to get out there and do their part.
And that's all from us here at Pakistan This Week. I hope you enjoyed the show. Keep writing to us at ptw@cnbcpakistan.com. That is ptw@cnbcpakistan.com. Join us next week where we will further explore Pakistan together. And remember to keep watching CNBC. From all of us here at Pakistan This Week, have a good day.